Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. As you can see, this time we're looking at a Philips CDI. The front has come off there, so yeah, that's going to be one thing I need to deal with. But if I just lift this up, can you hear that? Yeah, there's something rattling around in there. I'm hoping it's just a small piece of plastic. I mean, the tray is kind of flowing around here as well, which makes me think there's something gone wrong with that. Came with the remote control here. It's missing the end of the joystick here. We could perhaps find something to stick on there. I mean, the main thing is it works, you know, but it's a bit uncomfortable to use that way. And it seems to be in good condition, that's remote actually. I also got the gamepad for this with the kind of little stick that screws into there as well. That, again, that looks pretty good. Kind of reminds me of the old Gravis joypads actually, that. I think maybe it's manufactured by the same people, I don't know. It kind of looks like that. Again, you know, it's in good condition, I think. Don't know whether it works or not, but we can always fix it. Yeah, a little mini DIN there, similar to a PC Engine connector there. So I think we'll start by getting the lid off. Obviously it's described as faulty. It's in pretty good condition. There's some scratches. It should clean up, I think. It's, you know, it's just minor cosmetic stuff, really. I don't see any like massive gouges or anything. It's just dirt. So, not sure how to get in this. Let's just turn it around. It weighs an absolute ton. Actually, it's giant. Yeah. So we'll start with the screws on the back here. It's kind of a CD player, you know, VCR ish. It also has the digital video cartridge integrated in the back there. Someone's left that in there for me. That's nice. Yeah, there's something loose in there. Did you hear that? It sounds really loose. So we'll get the lid off and let's have a look inside. So it's actually Torx screws in the back of this. So there are 3 screws in the back and then 2 on each side. I've shook it to get these bits of plastic, so this was what was rattling around inside there. So just put those somewhere safe for the moment. I'm hoping that those are just either off this, you know, where I can just maybe somehow glue this back on, attach it somehow. I hope it's not off the wider part of the mechanism somewhere or something, and that we might have some sort of irreversible, you know, irreparable issue with this. Yes, the case has suffered a bit of a dint there, can you see? I mean, the crazy thing, it was just packaged in a box like that, no bubble wrap. That's the same dimensions as the system. So yeah, negative, well, maybe a negative feedback, I don't know, let's just see. I'm not sure whether any damage has occurred in transit, you know, those bits of plastic, or was it already flowing round in here, because, you know, the guy was honest and said that there's an issue with the drive here and that he couldn't attach the front piece again. So yeah, no idea. So I mean, it's probably going to need a new laser maybe. I mean, now we've had a good look inside it, you know, I'm not seeing any issues. I don't actually think anyone would have been inside it, to be fair. The screws, the Torx screws, the surfaces on them, the heads didn't look touched. Oh, there we go, a bit of plastic broken there, you see that? So I'm guessing that's perhaps what some of these bits are. They might be you know, from the supports that hold the front on and stuff. I mean, I can fix that. That's barely hanging on there, actually. I'd feel happier if I could see where those bits had broken off, if I'm completely honest, but right now it's not that obvious, unless it's something in the mechanism here somewhere. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should remove this as well. So, what's that noise when you turn it up? Ah, it's that there. Yeah, I thought there was something loose inside, but it's actually this. As you tip it forward, this sort of flies forward. Can we see the laser there? No, we'd have to dismantle that, I think, a little bit further to be able to see what's going on there. But because what sometimes happens with these is the spindle gets pressed down as a result of pressure there. Maybe the mechanism not shutting right at the right time, and as this piece comes down and the optical bit sort of pops up, you can get an issue there. So I think now we've seen, like I said, the inside of it, I'll connect a mains lead up and we'll connect it up to the TV. I don't know what video options we've got. We've got a SCART AV, as you can see, AV Euro connector. I'm not sure I've got a SCART to SCART cable actually. Why does that say input to? That makes me think you can run. Oh, that's for the controller. Yeah, that's right. The second controller input is on the back. In fact, I think it might be the other way around. I think the second one's on the front. Yeah, I think that one's like for player 2. Might be wrong. And I think the player 1 one is round here, which is crazy in my mind, but we'll find out anyway as we go around this, as we, we experiment in a minute. So we've got audio output, RF modulator built in. Oh, video out. Yeah, I'm blind, didn't see that. So we can connect. I've got a 3 phono lead here, so we'll use that to connect up composite in the first instance. The other thing we will need to do with this board in a minute, well later, is there's a Dallas real-time clock chip on board, and they've got like a 3-volt cell, battery in there. It's NiCad or something. Effectively, it's NiCad. It's like lithium or something, lithium cell. And obviously, they've got a finite lifespan, something like 10 years, I think. So ultimately, they do die. They used to replace those Dallas real-time clock chips a lot in some of the older PCs. Actually, I'm trying to think, compact and digital PCs. They always had those Dallas DS1287, I think they were. So it's very common to need to replace them, even after only 5 years, actually, back then. So without a doubt, it'll need replacing in this. The other thing you can do, there's a battery. It's a lot. What it is a dip chip. You'll see it when we have a look in a minute. But it's a dip chip that with a battery on top of it and a crystal, and then they've encapsulated the stuff on top of the dip chip, if you see what I mean. So it's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times as thick as a dip chip, but that top 3/4 of it is just like a plastic, a solid plastic filler to contain the battery and the crystal. So you can, use a Dremel and, knives and cutting tools and things to cut away at that plastic to get to the battery, to remove it, to replace it with perhaps a CR2032 button cell or something. So I might do that. I'm not sure yet, but that's something later down the line. The first thing is, let's just see what state of play this is really. So before we try this, it's worth having a talk about it actually, and I'll just show you some of the buttons and things and features. These were kind of made by Philip as an interactive, it says there, CD compact disc interactive player. So it plays CDs, video CDs, which was an early roadmap for DVD, if you like, using the MPEG compression technology. MPEG 2 was using DVDs. The original MPEG was used in video CD. Now, at the time these came out, I actually had a PC. I think I had a 486 at the time, and I got a single-speed CD-ROM drive. And some of the games that were available on the PC were the games that made their way onto the CDI at the same time, exact same time. Seventh Guest was one of them. There was another one as well, Creature Shock. That was a game I had on the PC. And the on rails, kind of. Computer-generated graphics. Perhaps have to take a look at 1 or 2 of those later. CD was kind of new to the PC. In fact, it was kind of a new technology in general in terms of multimedia, but it was making its way into more homes and things, home entertainment, and Philips were trying to push that technology into the home with the CDI. So whilst it was designed to sort of be interactive and play games and things as well, it kind of, the interactive bit is the bit that stands out really, that kind of identifies its character quite well. So you can interact with video. That kind of summarises it really. There's a few games, there's some awful Nintendo games, a couple of Zelda ones or something, and a Mario one. The Mario one's not too bad, I don't think. But is it Hotel Mario? I think it is. But they're quite awful, really. There's not really that many games you might want to play, maybe other than some of the light gun ones, like Mad Dog. That's like a cowboy, shooting thing. You need the gun, I can't remember what it's called now, to use that really. And then of course you need a CRT if you're going to use the light gun. It would work with my monitor here. Some of the, all the PAL ones, I think, if you look around the back, we've got RGB, so we've got SCART, and I think, as far as I understand, this output's RGB. The American ones don't, so you have to do a mod to get RGB. This one's got, as you can see here, digital video cartridge, so that's what you're required to decode, watch video CDs. And we'll take, if we can get this up and running, we'll take a look. I've got some of my video CDs from back in the day, because going back to what I was saying about my 486, when I had that, I had a single-speed CD-ROM drive. At the same time, video CD was starting to become a thing. It was kind of piloted, if you like, with the CDI here, but at that same time. Other devices were starting to support video CD, and you could buy, I think it was it Sigma Real Systems or something. There was like a video decoder card you could get for the PC that would play video CD. It was quite large. It was like, I think it was Realtek or something, or Sigma Systems. It was a giant full-length MPEG decoder card, and I had one of those in my PC. I bought it from VIP Computers back in the day. I think they were based in Salford somewhere in Manchester, and it was quite expensive. It was about £180 if I remember rightly. And I got the Naked Gun on CDI, the CDI video for CD format. So I'll go and get that in a minute. And I've also got, I think, In Bed with Madonna, because I've always been a Madonna fan. I've got all of her albums and things. I prefer some of her older work. Some of her new stuff's not that great, but well, it's all right. I like all of her tunes really, but the older stuff's the classic for me. But yeah, so I've got a few video CDs. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've got that on video CD. I'm not sure that ever actually shipped on video CD. I think I've got a copy. Someone may have converted it from VHS to video CD many years ago. It's on 4 discs, so I've got that as well, and a number of other things actually. But yes, in general, like I say, these are more of an interactive box really. You know, you can watch your video CDs and things on there, and the games that are there are kind of like very multimedia-ish. And there are some games that aren't too bad actually, but there's not many really. It's mostly interactive things, you know, like you can get encyclopedias and educational software and stuff for this. So looking around the front here, we can see we've got a play button, stop button, power button, controller input, and then the open close button, and our LED display there for indicating which track we're on and, you know, what the system's actually doing. And the power supply is built in, so all I need to do is plug a mains lead in. So as you can see, I've got the screen up there, and now this remote's had some awful corrosion in there, but I've just took a chance, put some batteries in, and I've pointed at the front of the CDI here. You can see I can move the cursor around, so that seems to be working okay. I've got no idea what any of the buttons do on this. Action button, let's see if we can go into info. Yeah, so that's working. Can accept 3-inch and 5-inch discs. Yeah, okay. Click OK. Settings, let's see what's in there. Yeah, so that's your day and time. Bear in mind, like I say, the timekeeper, you know, the Dallas real-time clock chip on there is going to be knackered, you know, so you've got a dim option there, screensaver kind of thing, you know, stop burning. So memory, nothing on there. I'm not sure if the memory's held with the real-time clock thing as well, you know, that Dallas battery, it probably is, you know, the battery of the Dallas real-time clock. So I've been able to close the drawer there. There's a disc there in the drive, but it's not doing anything. And as I turn the disc, it sounds like something's rubbing. I'll just see if I can show you this actually. So I think something's gone wrong with the mechanism here. Just listen. It's like stiff. It's like plastic on plastic or something. I'm guessing that either the optical parts come up too high, or the spindle has been pushed down, I think. So the question is, how do we, you know, and if you try playing, eventually it comes up saying ERR there on error. Let's just see if we can do that. It's still trying to attempt to do something with it, I think, which is why it's flashing. But yeah, okay, let's just eject it. I think the next thing I'm going to do is try and get the drive out actually to have a look at it, because you can't pull any of this off here. It's all just like one solid piece of plastic, super hard to work on. I don't know what on earth they were thinking when they designed this, really. So it looks like more Torx screws in here, so we'll get those out. There may be, yeah, I can't see quite very well, but there might be a couple down there. That could be a problem actually, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get my Torx screwdriver all the way down there. Actually, I might have to buy a dedicated screwdriver of the right size. So I managed to get the 2 screws out of there. You know, again, they're just Torx. I managed to use a flat headed screwdriver actually, and then I've had to unscrew the 3 screws off the top of there, you know, which married up with you know, the top of here, and then just connect these 2 connectors here. And the way you do that is you pull, if you just look at that one down there, you pull this little bit out like that away from the connector, and then just pull the connector out. And it's the same with this one over here. You can see you just pull it inwards a bit, pull the connector out, and then you can, you know, put the fascia to the front there. So in order to get the drive out completely, it looks like there's 2 screws there as well. You've got to pull this drive all the way to the front, you know, the drawer, so that as you can see, those holes line up down there. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but down there, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. I can barely see it, but there's screws, you know, 2 screws down there to get the drive out. So once you've got those 4 screws out, you can just pull the drive back a little bit. You can't remove it completely at that stage. You've got to look underneath down here, and this connect. You know, you need to lift this up. Can you see? You know, on both sides to make sure it's as up as far as possible. Then the flat flicks will pull out, and then these 2 little wires here that run just under down here where you can't quite see. I'll see if I can show you them. See those little white connectors down there? Just disconnect those. This one just pulls straight out. This one's got one of these little flaps, so you've got to pull it back a little bit because it's holding the thing in. So I can see the problem. Well, I think I can see the problem straight away with this. I saw it actually before I took the drive out. See the spindle? It's pressed totally flat. It shouldn't be that low. It's rubbing on the metal actually. So I'm going to pull that up a little bit. I'm not sure how best to do it. Is there something else? Oh, it's just a screw. I was going to say, is there something loose in there? It's just a screw. Well, getting the optical part out of here is absolutely crazy. What you've got to do is from the underside, you will see these little rubber things. The best thing to do is get a flat blade and push into the middle there really hard, and it'll push through the plastic until it's through. Do that on all 4, and then when it's inside still, slide the tray all the way as far forward as you can, and then you can just slide it out the back here. Be careful, because if you're not careful, you'll touch the lens there on the inside of the drive here. Yeah, the lens is looking okay, a bit dirty maybe. So we'll clean the lens, but can you see that? It's rubbing. It's like plastic on metal there. That's the problem. So I just need to get something in there and lift it up. It's it's super close to the laser actually. If you imagine the disc being flat there, I wouldn't be surprised if it's touching the that almost. Yeah, it's a little bit off. There's a little bit of clearance there, but that just needs pulling up, maybe to in line with that actually. There, I'll use that as a reference. So about half a millimetre, a millimetre. I need to find something fine enough to get under there. My nails are a bit long, need cutting, but that's still not fine enough. I might have to get a scalpel or something like that, just to try and get under there. So the best way to approach it is from under here. Be careful with the laser, try and get the optical pickup down here somewhere. It's on a weird spring system. And it's interesting, you can see how that works. And you've also got part of the optical stuff there as well, so you need to be super careful not to touch this. I'm going to have to clean this with IPA, I think, before we reassemble it. But as you can see, I've moved the spindle there off the bottom. It's in line with that now, so I think that's right. I think that's how it should have shipped. And I think what happens is, you stick your disc in, and if the disc is not aligned in the tray properly, it's overlapping a bit on the edges. When it comes in, the disc gets trapped between this and the top part. So it squashes this down. I'm pretty sure that's what happens on these. So in terms of things that need doing to this still, we've got the plastic clip here to fix. I might try super glue. I don't know if it's going to work. It's that kind of plastic again that just doesn't glue. The power switch is broken. I'm going to deal with that next. We'll show you that. There's the mysterious bits of plastic I found that were floating around inside it. I'm not sure where those came from yet. And obviously the front here, it wasn't clipping on. So I might just have a look at that and then the power switch. So straight away there, it's actually detecting the disc now. So I've got a copy of Dragon's Lair here. Let's give this a try. Oh yes, I think it's fixed.
Dragon's Lair.
Sweet, fantastic.
Quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon. You control the actions of a daring.
So I've got no idea how you play this at all. Well, I do know how you play it. That's rubbish. I'm pressing the pause button, I think. Yeah, you press the relevant button or direction at the relevant time. So let's just give this a go, see if I can get off the first screen or so. Yeah, I'm not sure which direction you press, because did you see there was no hint there? There was no arrow or anything to show you which button you press. So I'm not sure. I tried pressing up, let's try pressing right? I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, press pretty much everything. So I ain't got a clue. I'm going to need to read up to what the instructions are for this particular game. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but actually I think it just slides on there like that. I think that's it. So quite why someone else couldn't stick that on remains to be seen. The guy on the advert did say, I can't work out how to put it back on. That's the simplest thing you could do. Seriously. Yeah, so consider that fixed. So with the power switch, we're going to have to take the front off again. So let's just unscrew the screws here. And there's only two now because the one on the broken bit obviously is not there. And we'll try and glue that as well. Actually, we'll stick that plastic back on onto here at the same time as doing the switch, and then it should just lift forward. Yeah, this is where this needs to come back off. So let's switch it back on again if we can. Eject the drive. Yeah, there is a benefit to not having this on the front. Switch it off again, and then this should come off here, I think. Yeah, disconnect these. I'll show you these this time around. I'll show you how to do them. So I thought I'd show you how to do these. The easiest way is use a screwdriver to pull that little thing away, and then just try it and pull the thing up. It's not that easy to do actually. You've got to get I'm going to block the shot here, but you've got to get your fingers on the sides of it, pull that little flap to the side there, and just wiggle it one way and the other until it comes out like that. So that's one out. It's the same with this one down here next. Yeah, these are awful. I do hate the way they've laid these out. The design, it's just not very user serviceable at all. They're crazy, really. So there you go. You can see the broken power switch. It's just snapped off the top there. So you know the switch does work. So I think I'm going to go with a bit of super glue. Actually, we'll just try and get a bit of super glue on there. I've got the benefit. Oh no, I haven't. I was going to say I got the benefit. I could. Yeah, actually, I can actually stick a cable tie around that to hold it, just on the outside. So as long as it, you know, it's. I'll disconnect the power. I'll show you. Stick it back on. So once I've got super glue in there like that, if I stick a cable tie around the outside there now, that will both help the super glue hold it, but it'll also strengthen it moving forward. So yeah, that's a good idea. Just don't get it too close on the inside. You want it so that it's flush there when it's on. So I've got some super glue on there. Just tighten that up a bit. And I will need the super glue because trying to get that to stay in that position is going to be near impossible, methinks, actually. So I fixed the switch there with some super glue, but also I melted the top and sides with the soldering iron there. Bit of the seventh guest. I think we'll skip the intro because it's quite a long intro actually. Well, I'm assuming you can skip it. I think on the PC version you can't actually. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories. So I've got the original PC version of this. I'll show you the box in a minute. It was one of the very, very, very early CD1 tiles on the PC. I think I had a single speed Mitsumi at the time and it didn't run very well actually. I think it forced me to upgrade to a dual speed drive on the PC.
Don't worry, dear. I'll watch out for you.
But this is kind of typically what you expect of something like the CDI actually. You know, these CGI graphics, and you know it's all just pre-rendered, you know, on the disc and stuff. Like if I click a button there, it'll scroll to the right hand side. We'll get some sort of animation. I mean, this was cutting edge back in the day. You know, it really was. People were wowed the graphics on this game, but it really was just that, you know, a graphics demo, really, more than anything, because you didn't really have much control. But the games were quite good. As you go into each room here, you get like different, you know, sort of strategy, puzzle type games. Well, they're more puzzles than strategy. Yeah, I can't go into that one yet. You've got to unlock certain areas and certain rooms before you can go into, you know, other areas and things. See if we can go to that door. Why is it making us turn? It's a bit crazy. Maybe we can't go there. I think when you start it, there's only one place you can go, the first room, but then it opens up a few different rooms. Yeah, see, we can go into that room. I forget which one's first. Is it the spider puzzle, the cake? It might be the cake or the gravestones. I mean, you know, one thing I would say is, you know, let's say the animation's really smooth. You know, they did a really good job with the compression and stuff there. It looks quite seamless even today on a modern screen. It's pretty good.
I guess our host wants us to fend for ourselves.
Skip that. We can't.
Become a grave digger now, have we? You are a glutton.
Yeah, so what you've got to do on this one is get 2 of the skulls, 2 of the gravestones and 1 blank piece, and continue that all the way around until you've removed all, you know, equal slices, and they've got to be joined up. You know, you've got to have those 5 pieces there just described all together. So, you know, it's a bit of a, it's like it's a puzzle, this one, but they're all pretty much puzzles actually. Pretty cool though, nonetheless. So as you can see, you've got some Miss Pac-Man there, the Namco Arcade Classics. And I'm trying to use the gamepad here. I've tried it in both ports. It just doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter what position the switches are in. And the speed one's not going to be relevant there. But there's a switch up here. I'm not sure what that does. Just no effect at all. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is tear the gamepad apart. We'll have a look at that actually. So I mean, I'm not sure at this stage whether there's something wrong with the pad, the cable, the CDI itself. There could be a chip that processes the signal there. Sometimes they have ICPs. There could be an ICP on board that's blown on the CDI. Maybe we're lucky and there's something like that in here that's gone. So we'll get the screws out. I think it's just those 7 or 8 screws. I think 7 screws there. Well, I'm quite surprised there's next to nothing in there. This little PCB, which kind of looks homegrown, if I'm honest. You know, kind of like a small limited run. It's not mass produced. But as you can see, there we've got a Logitech chip. So I'm not sure if that. I think that probably would have been used in other systems, maybe because, like I say, this looks like the Gravis gamepad you used to be able to get out. That cable there wasn't on there very well. So I mean, we'll disconnect this here and reconnect it, just in case it's a bad connection there. The other thing we can do is test connectivity. I'll test from under here to each of the pins on here. We might look out, it might be connection there, but then again, that might not be lucky unless that is the same size DIN you get on the PC Engine controls, because I've got some of those spare. So if that is the case, I could swap it over. But if it's non-standard, if it's bespoke to this, we're going to have a problem. So I'll do the usual clean-up while we're here as well. You know, I can't imagine that this actually needs doing, really. It looks super clean. It looks like it's hardly ever been used, which doesn't surprise me. There's not that many games, really, for the CDI. I mean, you've got all these interactive ones, like 7 Guess, you know, lots that use FMV, but none that you might want to invest in a pad like this. The same thing with these silicons. These have hardly had any use at all. They look brand new. I mean, just look at that. You can see that's hardly got any use. I mean, for the Namco Classics here, this would be really good actually. Playing Miss Pac-Man using this would be better than using that remote control for sure. Well, to be quite honest, it's hard to believe. I'll show you continuity. Hear the meter? So we've got a short there. Now if I hold that, hang on, it's not the easiest thing to do this. Hold it, test we've got a short, yeah? And then compare to here. I'm getting nothing, not even resistance, nothing at all. There's no connection to that first one. So we do the same with the second one. Let's do the red wire. So on the connector itself, we've got it. Let's test it here. Nothing, nada, zip, zero, not even resistance, nothing. The next one. So this is the third connection there. So yeah, just testing. We've got a good join with the black probe. We do, and again on here, nothing. Oh, hang on. Some resistance, about 250, 300 ohms. Yeah, it's that bottom one there. But yeah, so resistance, not really short, not a good join. If we test the last one here, final pin, so far we've got one that's pretty loose connection, and that's it. And again, nothing. So 3 of the wires are making no connection. One of them's broken down, you know, or it's got some resistance there. It's not a very good connection at all. So it's no wonder the joypad doesn't work. Now it leaves me with the dilemma of, is the brake in the middle of the cable? Now it's a very, very long cable. I mean, a ridiculously long cable. Try and find another controller that's got this length of a lead on here. It's crazy how long it is actually. It's a good 2 meters or so at least. So I mean, the brake could be somewhere here. I'm more inclined to think the brake's going to be here because it's pretty hard to get in, and I imagine people pulling it out with the wire here. And it does seem like a fairly flexible cable. So yeah, I would guess this is where the brake is. Now I've just compared to is it an 8-pin minied in here for the PC Engine, and it's identical. I don't know if you can see that. It's an identical profile. So I think I'm going to snip it off here or here, strip the wires back, do continuity checks again. I mean, we need to do that. The cable needs to be swapped out one way or another, even if I end up replacing the whole cable, and just test connectivity with the stripped off wires to here. The dilemma is I'm not sure which of these 4 pins go to which of these 4 pins here. So I think I might just need to have a look at the pin out of the CDI controller port here, because it stands to reason if we've got 4 connections, you can have ground, VCC, and then perhaps a clock and a data pin, something like that, I suspect, or receive and transmit pin. It's going to be something like that. Well, you're only going to get lucky so many times. I ended up having to chop both ends off. It seems the damage is actually at this side here. So I mean, I can take these little things out, solder them back on here. I mean, I do still have this. I cut the distance off that. I could stick that back on there if I wanted to, join it up with heat shrink and stuff. If I joined them back up and isolate them from each other, get some heat shrink over there, maybe a bit of super glue under it, slide the heat shrink over the super glued area, and then get another piece of heat shrink over that. I could join back up the original cable. I might do that because I don't really want to redo all, use an entire. I might do that. I might do that actually. Just join that back up there, and then we can just solder this back onto the connector here. We'll see how we get on with that. I could always just swap out for a whole new connector, but I mean, it would be nice to at least try and keep that grey one. It's annoying if I'd start at this end first. Obviously, we'll have a seamless repair with this controller, but even bending it and wobbling it and stuff, anywhere on the cable trying to influence the connectivity was making no difference at all. Somewhere in here it's just been pulled internally and just broken completely on those connections. And this bend piece here was actually inside the controller, so it's not like, well, it's probably there actually. It's probably where it's occurred. It's probably occurred at the point of the bend, but even when I was wobbling it like that, nothing, no connectivity whatsoever. So I've twisted the edges there. I've just got some solder and flux, and we're just going to lightly tin each of these connections here. Then I'll slide the heat shrink tubing over actually, and this particular piece is nice and tight actually, this heat shrink. You could say it's almost the same size as the cable, so I'll slide that back up here a bit, and then I'm going to get a slightly wider piece. This is the piece that I'll stick some super glue just here, and then slide it all around the diameter, then slide this over. It'll come in contact with the super glue. As I slide it further over, it'll drag it over the area, right here where I slide it up to. And then when this is slid over here, right up to here, use the hot air to shrink it, and then I'll slide a larger piece over the whole lot and shrink that as well. So I'll get the larger piece on there. So here's the larger piece, and again I think it should shrink okay. I think that should fit. So I'll tin this end up here in the same way, twist these, get some solder and flux on them. So there we go. Those have all joined up. The next thing to do is cut insulation tape, so it's almost as wide as that, like say into strips, and try and feed it in and out, under and round each one just totally isolate them. I might be able to do it with one continuous piece actually, like that. Yeah, that's going to be alright, I think. And like I say, the strength is going to come in from the heat shrink. That's the first layer is going to be glued onto the diameter of the cable and then shrunk super tight. Yeah, you need some serious patience to do something like this. So you see, we'll get that first bit over like that, stick it over, double it up, that's it. So that's that first piece, you know, that first one's isolated. And then it's like I say, feed it round and through the next one. So yeah, it's a pain to do something like this. And you may think it's not going to hold in place, but trust me, it will. When you get the heat shrink glued on the diameter there, and then the second piece over as well, it'll be fine. So there you go. There was some super glue added just before I slid the heat shrink to this point, and a little bit over that side. So you can see I'll get the hot air onto that, shrink that down, and then I'll slide this piece over and shrink that down. One of the reasons I'm showing you this, you know, I could swap out to the connector, but I'm just trying to show you techniques you can use to repair cables and things, you know, where perhaps the connector might not be available and the brake may well be in the middle, you know, or somewhere else. You know, you flexed it and bent it, and you want to somehow reuse the connector and stuff, and you want a relatively reliable connection there. You know, these are just techniques and things you can use. It'd be far too easy for me to just, you know, show you this on there and go, there you go, I stuck it on, wasn't an issue. I think the other thing we'll do when I've done this is just do some connectivity tests to this PCB here, the colours, and I'll let you know which pin numbers here go to you know, the colours and the connections on here. So I got the temperature set to about 140. Perhaps doesn't need to be that hot. About 100 degrees is probably sufficient actually. Yeah, that's about as shrunk as that's going to get. I'm not sure how well this is going to shrink. I might end up cutting this off yet. Yeah, that's shrinking okay actually. Ouch, that's a little bit hot. 140 might be a bit too hot for something like this. Nearer to 100 maybe. 110. But yeah, that's not too bad actually. I'm relatively pleased with how well that's come out. Now this point will be pretty flexible until it cools down. That's the thing you've got to remember. And then it should have a bit of strength in it. So I'll just let that cool down for a bit. So the same thing here, piece of heat shrink, as you can see. I'll just, you know, cut the wires near to the connector. Again, the more professional way of doing this is to remove, you know, use a pin here to lift the plastic flap up a little bit as you pull the thing out, you know, and recrimp them. But they're a pain. They are so small. Good luck trying to do one of those. You'll be lucky if you don't damage the thing trying to do that. So let's say doing this technique here, just pull it back a bit, and sliding the heat shrink over. That's the main thing, you know, making sure you've got a good solder point, that the wires are overlapped, you've got a good enough solder connection there. Tape the first one, and then just you know, feed this through the gaps. It's a bit easier with this one because we've got a much larger cavity there to slide the tape through without trying to join the tape back to itself. That's it. I'm going to cut that excess off actually, because otherwise it's going to be difficult to get the heat shrink over there if you've got too much thickness with tape. But that, yeah, that should be okay. And then, as I say, I can slide this up over. It will take a bit of experimentation just to get the tape to go, you know, to be scrunched up enough to go into the tubing. What you don't want to do is slide the heat shrink up and pull the tape with it. You want this to go under the heat shrink tubing here. Using something like this can sometimes help just to smooth it down on the inside there, to get it to tuck on the inside. Twist it a little bit, you see that? Twist it as you put it on. See, look, the tape's not moving. There we go. There we go. All done. Yeah, and this is one of the fudgiest fixes I've ever done, I think. But you know, you can see it looks alright. It's going to look pretty tidy and professional. This would have been better if we got like a grey heat shrink, actually, you know, nearer to a dark grey, nearer to the original cable. But again, like I say, I'm just trying to show you techniques more than anything. Ultimately, I could just swap the entire cable out, you know, crimp it on the connector there instead of having the join here, and just put a new connector on it. But why not go this way, just to show you a few things and try and reuse what I can. So I think the next thing we'll do here is just test some connectivity. Let's just make sure, after all this, you know, wouldn't be ironic now if we didn't have a join. Let's just hope. So we'll use the black probe because it's nice and thin there. It can fit into the thing at the back there, and we'll just test connectivity. Yeah, to the pin. There we go. And we'll just test on the connectors here. Yeah, I thought for a minute we didn't have a join there. Phew. It's right down here actually. So we're looking at the brown here. Let's see which one it is. Yeah, so hopefully you can see that. So I'll get that to focus. Come on, focus. There we go. So the brown is that left hand pin there. You see? Yeah, so it's the middle row. It's the left pin on its own. There's a gap between that pin and the two to its right. So that's the brown. And the next one is the black. So let's just test on the connector itself. Hang on. Yeah, right, so we're ready with black now. Let's see where black is. Yeah, so black, again, focus, 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 focus. Come on. You know you want to focus. There we go. Is the top left pin, the two on their own. Yeah. And the red. And I'm guessing black and red are VCC and ground. So the red is... Yeah, so the red is the bottom row there. It's the middle pin of the bottom row. Yeah, and the final one is orange. Please be connected. And the orange is the bottom row left-hand pin. Yeah, I think you can just about see that. Yeah, it's the left-hand pin there of the bottom three. So we've got connectivity. Let's reassemble it and give it a try. So as you can see, you've got the PCB back in there. The strain relief is here, so it's nice that the cable that we've not fixed, that part there, is in the strain relief, so that's not going to be subject to damage. You know, the bit of the heat shrink's just on the inside, so that should be all okay. Get the lid back on and the screws in. So let's give it a go. Now I'm not sure if this will work from the front or the back, so let's connect it to the front and I'll try the pad. Yeah, I'll point at the screen. The interesting thing here is, I'm sure this pad is going the wrong way. Maybe it's left. I think it works. There's a switch for left-handed, right-handed, isn't there? Because if I go, I'll show you. If I press left, just watch. It goes right, press right, it goes left. So I'm guessing that's what this switch up here is. Yeah, it is. So after switching that switch, left goes left, right goes right. Presumably, you know, it's you know, to go the other way, so you can be left-handed or right-handed. That's quite clever, actually. So that's nice. We can use the menu with the thing as well. I didn't expect that. I thought it was, you know, need to have a specific support within a game, but apparently not. So let's load this and see if we can just have a bit of a blast on Miss Pac-Man. So it's a shame there's not more of this kind of game actually on this system. We'll go on Miss Pac-Man. I do like this pad though, it's sweet. Yeah, so you'd think that it would have made more sense to have put the Player 1 port on the back actually, because you know you've got this in a home entertainment setup and stuff. You know, you could plug the controller in the back there, you know, stick it into the unit and stuff, and that's it, you're done. And then if you ever need to use Player 2, you know, some other additional controller, you can plug it into the front. I mean, it would have even made more sense to just have both the controller sockets on the front, to be fair. So let's hit a button. Yes, that's working, fantastic. One player, go. Sweet. certainly looks pretty cool. What amazes me is the CD. You know, I could hear the CD streaming various things there as it was loading and stuff. It's the smallest game ever. The ROM is probably like 64K or something. It's like probably not even that, 32K or 16K. So quite why it's spooling so much from the CD remains to be seen. You know, there's not much there really. But yeah, they've enhanced the graphics. Everyone likes a bit of Gallagher. So this one's got more sort of arcade-like graphics actually. There we go. Sweet. Yeah, that's good. It's a shame they've sort of got this little box on the left and, you know, wasted most of the screen with a bit of an interface really. I can understand the reason to do that, but why not have less of an interface? It doesn't need to be so much of the screen. The whole left-hand side really could be expanded more or less to show the gameplay area. It's pretty good though. It's not a bad version. So the other common faults you get with these is the loading belts. You know, it's a bit like on the Xbox, you know, the rubber belt there for loading the tray and stuff and ejecting the tray. In fact, you can see that a little bit here. If I eject it, and when it ejects, I'll load it again, just watch. See it struggle a little bit just at the end. So yeah, you know, what you can do with the belt obviously is replace it, something similar, maybe something just a tiny bit smaller will work. You know, you don't want to go larger when you're replacing belts because you won't get the tension there, but as near to the exact size or slightly smaller generally will work okay. The other technique you can use that other people have talked about all over the place on the net, and it does work, I've used it myself, is to take your rubber belt, stick it in a cup of water and stick that cup in water high on the microwave for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You know, it's like super hot. Careful you don't burn yourself when you switch the microwave off and stuff. Just let it cool down for 20 minutes or something before you remove the belts. But that can bring tension and this, you know, strength back into belts as well. That works really well. So I mean, at this stage, this one's working. It's not failed to eject or load, but that is a common problem I've read about. I'm quite surprised that the issue I've had with this, with the spindle being pressed, is not listed as a common fault, because I have seen that. I saw that on Retro Game Tech's video. Let's say when I pointed out, oh, it's the spindle, I think. He thought it was the motor at the time. And if it was a fair point, it could have been the motor. But the fact it was very, very, very low down, that was the clue. You know, you ever see a spindle like that, where it's pressed right down, it's touching, you know, and you turn it and you can feel it grinding. It's not necessarily going to be the motor. You've got to look at what the spindle is actually, you know, is the spindle actually touching something? You've got some resistance there from the spindle. But I would suggest that certainly on the 210 model, that's a common fault. You know, these tray loading drives, and I've seen that on other systems, and it's like, say, I'll try and demonstrate without actually breaking the thing, but you put the disc like that there, what happens when you go in, you've got this extra height here, so as the thing comes up, it's like it can put pressure. You know, that mechanism doesn't work right. You can put pressure on the spindle, and depending on, you know, let's say what you then do to try and correct it, you can actually press the spindle down. It really is that easy. The other possibility is if you stuck 2 discs in there, a similar sort of thing would happen, I think. But I can't imagine anybody's going to stick 2 discs in there at the same time. It's more commonly, let's say you do that, something like that, or like that. You know, it's not in the tray properly. So I think what I'll do now is just clean this all up, and we'll have a look at the end results. What I'm not going to do in this video, I think it'll be a separate video, is do the Dallas real-time clock, you know, the timekeeper chip there. I will see if I can get a nub for this. I've ordered a couple actually. I've ordered one for a PSP. It's probably going to be too small, I would think, and one for a 3DS as well, you know, a Nintendo 3DS. And if the hole's a bit smaller, I can always just widen it slightly. And the idea is try and get something that just makes a really tight fit on there, that's got a flat top, you know. Just replace that. If anybody else has got a suggestion for a better replacement, let me know. But let's say I've ordered the PSP and the 3DS one. We'll give those a try, and with some adjustment, maybe one of them will fit. I'll clean this controller up in the next video as well. I'm not going to show it in this video. I'm just going to take it apart. But you know, the batteries have leaked here, so there's going to be some corrosion. You can see some contact corrosion in there. So we'll do that in the second part as well. So I'll have a go at cleaning the case here. Just got some soap and water here, and we'll just see how much of the marks, you know, some of them aren't going to come off, like this big gouge here, you know, with just soap and water. We might need to use some plastic cleaner or something, and I guess some of them are just not going to come off. You know, it's suffered years of being slung around, and you know, had things stuck on top of it and stuff. I mean, ultimately you'd slide this into, you know, a home entertainment setup, you know, on a shelf somewhere, so you wouldn't see the top of the thing anyway. There may even be something stacked on top of it. Well, notes, you know, if you did do that, you don't want to block the vents and things here. So as you can see, I got rid of all the white marks with plastic cleaner. Now it looks a bit patchy, but it won't do in a minute, so I'm just going to wipe this down with a bit more soap and water, and then if you just spray over this with a back to black, it should look pretty much good as new actually. Yeah, so still a bit damp there as it's drying, but yeah, the key is going to be to get some of this in, because like I said, the plastic's dried out. I've used a bit of IPA in places, but mostly Maguire's Plastex actually. That's the thing that got all the white marks off. So that's actually pretty good. As good as new. So the crazy thing with this actually, I've just realised, I took the two screws out here thinking those are what supported the thing in there, but they're not. They just hold the back on there. So actually the only thing that holds it in is kinetic energy. It's, you know, you push it into the slot there, and it's just held in place. So in order to remove it, all you've got to do, and I'm guessing they provided a tool to do this, just get a little screwdriver or something under there and just try and pull it towards you. So I'll put those two screws back in. It's interesting, yeah, they've classed it as a cartridge. It's huge, you know, full PCB and everything. I can see some ROMs, look like EPROMs with labels on inside there. So yeah, I'll perhaps do a teardown of that at some point in future. It's giant, it weighs a ton. You see, it just slides in like that. So when it comes to getting to the screws back into the drive, don't over tighten them, and if you're using a flat blade like I am, because I haven't got a Torx that's long enough, magnetise your thing here, otherwise the screws will be super hard. They just fall and they go inside weird angles, and they fall inside the mechanism. You can't even, you know, not even in the hole, they slide out. So yeah, magnetise your screwdriver. So I've got a cotton bud with some IPA. The other thing I'm going to do is, you can just about see down there, hopefully, the laser lens just shifted it. It's on a weird kind of carriage that, you see, you can slide the whole thing across. Let me just try and hold that. Actually, I'll use a non-magnetised tool here. And we just want to just gently touch the lens there, and then just dry it off. Don't put too much pressure onto that, whatever you do. So the other thing I'm doing while I'm here, as you can see, is just using some cotton buds to clean around the PSU. This is not a full teardown in this video. In the next video we'll perhaps you know, get the power supply out and stuff and check some of the caps, but to be fair, the caps look really good in this. It looks like it's got really nice high quality caps, and they're looking excellent condition. But we will want to take that power supply out and just have a look at the boards, check for dry joints, you know, check for any leakage or corrosion and stuff. But in the first instance, we could just get all the fluff out like this. So where I glued that piece back together there, you can see I also touched the iron all around it on both sides to strengthen it as well, and that's, you know, that's held in place there. The screw has gone in okay. So to get the lid back on, just make sure everything's flat here. You've not got any cables trapped. You've got that wire back in there, and then you put the front piece into there like that. It's like a little slotted piece. I did just straighten out the side, you know, because the metal part here was a little bit bent. I've straightened it out a little bit. Yeah, and let's say sort of hinge it in and then put it down, and that's it. Stick the screws in. So I need to clean the side yet. The sides haven't been done, and as I've mentioned in many other videos, when you're putting screws in systems like this, you know, rotate them anti-clockwise first until it snaps over, and then go clockwise to avoid cross-threading it, because it's metal on metal. You know, these will cross-thread really easy, especially with the pitch of the you know, the screw there. So again, with the front, just a bit of soap and water initially, and then we'll get the Maguire's Plastex onto that. So hopefully you can see how much better that is actually. There's still a couple of little scratches there, but compared to as that was, that's much, much, much better. So as you can see there, looking absolutely fantastic actually. All of the marks have come off it, you know, the front just looks super clean actually. A quick look here at a couple of discs I've got here for the CDI. These are video CDs. Interestingly enough, this one's CDI branded, and I can distinctly remember purchasing this disc actually. It was before I got the MPEG card. I'd ordered one, but I went down to Comet to have a look at what they got on display and to have a look at the CDI. I was thinking about buying one. And I was kind of put off actually just because there was no real, games and things available. I think there was a golf game on demo there at Comet, but they had a selection of movies and things available. It hadn't been out long, the system, but I thought, okay, I'll buy one of these. And like I say, I'd ordered the MPEG card that same weekend, I think it was. So, they're just CD, that's all they are, it's just a compact disc. There's two, that's one of the problems with these. The movie was split over two discs because of the capacity of these, even with the compression. You couldn't fit it all on one disc if it was, sort of over, 60 minutes, I think. My cat is annoying me here, it keeps pouncing on my hand. So yeah, I got In Bed with Madonna as well. I think I got this a year or two later. They're in not too bad condition, these. I think, yeah, that had a chip that's got tape around there, can you see that? I think it had a fracture on the centre there, but, that disc works okay. So yeah, coming back to what I said before, these are MPEG 1, DVD used MPEG 2 compression. And the drives are 150k, single speed, as I mentioned earlier as well, single speed 150k per second. Now if you compare that to say like a Blu-ray, modern Blu-ray drives, come out of the way Yoshi, modern Blu-ray drives, single speed, 4.5 megabytes per second, not 100, not like 150k, 4.5 megabytes. And if you get one of the top of the range, I don't know what speed they are, 24 speed or something, Blu-ray players, 72 megabytes per second. So there's a huge difference there, and obviously there needs to be because there's an awful lot more data. You've got much higher resolution, but the compression, as things moved on, moving up from MPEG onto MPEG 2 and the technologies that are used for Blu-ray and MKV files and things like that, were much higher compression and a much better picture quality as well. The compression algorithms they used were much better. And I'll show this movie in a minute. We'll play a bit of The Naked Gun. You can see one of the compression artifacts you get, and I spotted it, pretty early on when I got that technology, when I got my MPEG decoder there on my PC. So I powered it up here. We've got the movie in. Let's hit play. I'm going to need to talk over some of this because otherwise I'm going to get a copyright strike if I'm not careful. It's worth mentioning some of the other specs, I guess. So these systems have got a 68,000 derivative, if you like. It's based on the 68,000 processor. It's a Philips SCC 68070 running at 15.5 megahertz. So as far as I understand, there's some subtle differences there. It's not exactly a straight 68,000 CPU. It's subtly different. Let's click play. We do play all. Like I say, I'll have to probably skip some of this or turn some of the sound down. But yeah, the 68070 could lead you to think that it's a super powerful, faster than a 68040, but it's not. It's not. It's got more in common with the 68010, I think, as far as I understand. 1 meg of RAM in these systems, so not a lot. The video compression card, the decompressor that we're watching now, that using to play this video CD here, that provides some additional RAM. I think 1 or 2 games actually made use of that additional RAM if you've got this, the video card in there. But you can see straight away that's pretty good actually. I was always blown away at how smooth this was actually on a PC. I was watching this on a CRT back then on a PC. So I'll fast forward a bit. It looks like you've got to hold the fast forward down actually. It's a bit strange. There's no multiple speed option there to be able to fast forward any faster. So I guess other things worth mentioning is 24-bit colour. So a single bit, I've gone too far there. A single byte for red, green, and blue. 24-bit. So that gives you 16.7 million colours. It's going slower in reverse than it was in forward actually. I'm just trying to get to the bit where I can show you the compression issue. Here we go. If I just leave that, we'll just talk a little bit over some of this here. Yeah, so the sound, it's got AD PCM support, 8-channel. A bit further here, it's just when he falls in the water in a minute, you can see the compression artifacts pretty clearly actually. So 16-bit sound. So the sound's kind of got a lot in common with, say, the Amiga and the Neo Geo. The AD PCM capability there. Fast forward a bit more. Just wait for him to get sharp. Good grief. It's taken a while to find it. You can see very clearly, there you go, can you see the pixelization here around that area? So yeah, you know, it was not perfect technology. That was one, you know, problem, if you like, compared to, trying to pause it. How the hell did you pause it? Yeah, that was one problem compared to, you know, VHS at the time. VHS, you know, didn't suffer from anything like that. But in general, the picture was an awful lot better. I think the real thing that let it down, video CD as a format, the big problem with it, in my opinion, was the 2-disc thing. The disc, you know, the disc wasn't big enough. If they'd been able to squeeze more onto the discs, so that you could have an entire movie on one disc, it could have done really, really well. But it was just a bit too much of a gimmick. The splitting the video over multiple discs, lots of people saw that as a bit of a gimmick, actually. So that's ultimately, I think, why it died out. But you know, it was the you know, the early roadmap to DVD. So in the next part, we'll take a look at the you know, the timekeeper there to replace the battery. You know, that Dallas real-time clock. Perhaps have a look at the capacitors just to see what condition they are on the board. But I think they're okay. They look pretty good to me. They're super high qualities from what I can see. Have a bit of a general inspection of the board. Have a look around the power supply side of things as well. Maybe take a look inside the video card there. Hopefully you found that interesting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.